Hello class, welcome to the final segment in lecture 24, and in this final segment we are going to be covering some topics related to urban flow patterns as well as taking a look at some urban flow patterns. So with that, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So one of the first things that we want to actually look at before we get too deep into looking at urban flow patterns is to take a look at something called the Froude number, which is often used to assess the likelihood that air will flow over an obstacle or whether the air will tend to flow around an obstacle as opposed to over it. And the way that Froude number is defined is it's defined as follows, where here you have the numerator is the horizontal flow speed, capital U, and then that is all defined divided by the Brunt-Vasela frequency, capital N, times capital H, which represents the height of the obstacle. So if you got a stronger flow pattern, then we would expect there to be a greater chance that it would flow over an obstacle. And this Brunt-Vasela frequency N takes into account how stable or unstable the atmosphere is. So if the atmosphere is very stable, it's much harder for air parcels to move upward. So if your atmosphere is really stable, then you're going to have a greater likelihood that the air will be flowing around the obstacle as opposed to over it. And of course, if you have a higher value or a higher obstacle, a taller obstacle, then it's going to be much harder for the air to flow over it. So just right off the bat, we can sort of get an idea of what sort of Froude number values are going to be favorable for flow over an obstacle or around an obstacle. So if the wind is very strong and the obstacle is very short, then that would tend to give you a higher Froude number. So we would expect to see that a higher Froude number would give us a better chance of the flow going over the obstacle, whereas a lower Froude number, which might be from weaker flow pattern or a really tall obstacle, that would tend to give us a lower Froude pattern, a lower Froude number, which would tend to imply that you've got a flow pattern that will go around the obstacle as opposed to over it. But I do want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about this idea of Brunt-Vasela frequency, this symbol represented by capital N. There are a lot of ways to define this parameter, but one of the more common definitions, at least in the realm of meteorology, is the one that's given right here. So Brunt-Vasela frequency, one definition of it is it's N squared. Capital N squared is equal to lowercase g, which is acceleration due to gravity, divided by potential temperature theta, and then all that is multiplied by how potential temperature theta varies in the vertical direction. And by the way this is defined, if N squared is positive, that would suggest that you've got a stable atmosphere, which means if you displace an air parcel upward, it will try to return to its original position, but its momentum will carry it past its starting point. So what you basically end up with is you end up with this oscillating air parcel motion where you displace it upward, then it goes back down, then it comes back up, then it goes back down, and it sort of repeats that cycle as it travels in the horizontal direction. And there's a specific name for that phenomenon, which is known as a gravity wave. And you'll talk more about the anatomy and processes behind gravity waves in some of your later meteorology classes. But just so that that idea is not a complete shock to you, I do want to go ahead and introduce it. And if this value N squared is 0, that would mean you have a neutral atmosphere, meaning if you displace an air parcel upward, then it's going to want to continue upward at a constant speed, meaning it's not going to accelerate or decelerate. It's just going to want to continue moving upward at the speed it was given at the beginning. So it's not going to be changing its velocity. It's just going to continue traveling and then upward, or if you displace it downward, it's going to continue traveling downward. And if this value N squared is negative, this means that you've got an unstable atmosphere, meaning if you displace an air parcel upward, it will continue accelerating upward, and that's something that's typically associated with, say, a convective process. Because you have an air parcel that accelerates upward until something finally stops it, and in the process of doing so, it usually forms some sort of convection. Excuse me. So again, something that we kind of alluded to at the beginning, if your Froude number is really small, and usually a small value of Froude number is something about 1, so if the Froude number is less than 1, that means that the flow pattern that's characterized by these variables here, the flow pattern will tend to flow around the obstacle as opposed to over it. Versus if you have a value of Froude number that's greater than or equal to 1, that means that the air has a better chance of flowing over the obstacle. In fact, higher values of Froude number mean that you've got a much higher likelihood that the air will flow over the obstacle in question. And also as a consequence of this, higher values of Froude number are also associated with greater turbulence. And we'll take a look at how exactly that works when we talk about urban flow patterns itself. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the urban flow patterns. So one of the first patterns that we'll look at is what happens if you have two buildings separated by some small distance, and you've got air that's flowing in between them. And you might have experienced this yourself if you walk down, say, an alleyway or a breezeway where the walls are really tall on a nice windy day. When the air goes into the channel here or into the alleyway, it encounters a smaller cross-sectional area, and that basically is something, and basically creates what's sometimes referred to as a wind tunnel effect. That is, as the air is forced into this smaller area, in order to maintain mass continuity, it actually has to accelerate. The wind has to get stronger. So as the air is channeled and forced into the smaller area, in order to maintain the conservation of mass, the air has to actually accelerate. So the wind gets stronger in between the buildings here. So again, as the wind is forced into this narrow passageway, the wind accelerates, and then when it comes out on the other side, it returns to a flow speed that was roughly the same as its starting point. And again, you might have experienced this on a really windy day. If you walk in between two really tall buildings, you will experience this much more profoundly, especially if you're in a downtown area of a major city where you have really tall skyscrapers all around you. And if you happen to be in between two really tall skyscrapers on a windy day, the wind is much stronger in that area than it is away from the two skyscrapers in question. And another pattern that can come into play is something that we kind of alluded to when we introduced the idea of Froude number. So if you've got a smaller value of Froude number, then you're going to have air that flows around obstacles. But if you have a higher value of Froude number, then you have a better chance of air flowing over an obstacle. So let's take a look at the case where the air flows over the obstacle. So the air is deflected upward, then it flows over the obstacle, and it will start moving horizontally initially, but this is going to result in some turbulent motions, which then want to bring the air back down to ground level. And this is one of the reasons why higher values of Froude number are associated with more turbulent motions, and the reason why is because the air has a better chance of getting over the obstacle, meaning it has a better chance of producing turbulent motions on the other side. And the only way that can be the case is if the Froude number is really high. Higher Froude number means a greater chance of going over the obstacle, which means a greater chance of getting these turbulent motions downwind of the building in question, in the wake of the building. Versus if you have the case where the flow goes around the building, you can also get turbulent motions from this, but they're usually not as profound. So the wind goes toward the building, it's deflected around the building, and this is usually the case if you have a really stable atmosphere. And in the process of doing so, you don't get as much turbulence. You can still get turbulence from this, but it's not going to be as intense. So higher Froude number, again, tends to give you stronger turbulence. Lower Froude number tends to give you less turbulence. And another interesting thing that you can see in urban areas, this isn't so much, well, this is sort of a flow pattern, but the whole idea behind differential heating can come into play, and this is sometimes referred to as the urban heat island. So if you think about what makes up urban areas, you have a lot of glass on buildings. Roofs are really good at absorbing heat as well. Concrete is very efficient at absorbing heat. So you have a region in a very urbanized area, you have a lot of materials that can absorb a lot of heat from the sun versus, say, the outskirts of a city or a very rural area where you don't have as many of these features, so the heating is much slower. So this tends to result in much warmer air occurring in the middle of an urbanized area, which again is sometimes referred to as an urban heat island, and a slightly cooler air away from the urban heat island. And this actually sort of resembles almost a sea breeze circulations in some respects. In fact, there's a fair amount of research going into that's trying to look at this flow pattern and try and get a better understanding of it, because this is something that most often occurs in summer where the heat from the sun is much more intense, but it can also occur in other seasons as well, usually most prominent in the summer. But this kind of has the same effect as a sea breeze, where you have relatively warm air, which is less dense, relatively cool air, which is more dense. And since you have this thermal contrast here, you have a tendency for this air to rise, and then that will ultimately result in the flow pattern that you see here. And if the properties of this rising air are correct, are sufficiently conducive for thunderstorm development, and you can actually get some thunderstorms developing as a consequence of this urban circulation here, which again is the same mechanism as the sea breeze circulation, which we looked at in lecture 20. So that's going to do it for this final segment on Lecture 24. So that's going to do it for Lecture 24 itself. And in the next lecture, we're going to talk a little bit more about urban flow patterns and take a look at when atmospheric conditions are favorable for high pollution levels. So that'll be the main topic for the next lecture. So with that, I will see you all there.